Hello, I'm Bernard Nomberg with the Nomberg Law Firm in Birmingham, Alabama, and I want to take a few minutes to talk about Medicare Set-Aside Agreements, or MSAs. It's a confusing topic to say the least, but typically where people come in contact or use them is at the end of a workers' compensation case when the insurance company usually will approach the injured worker or their attorney about trying to close medical care into the future. And that can be a tricky situation. There's a lot of things to take into consideration, and I'm going to hit some of the highlights here. Every case is a little bit different. Every situation and facts need to be analyzed individually and not compared to other cases so that you get a true understanding about how this works. Medicare is a federal government program that provides for health care coverage for people who qualify, typically above the age of 65, or if you're under the age of 65 and you receive Social Security disability insurance for a certain amount of time, or if you're under the age of 65 with end-stage renal disease. The Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services, also known as CMS, is the federal agency that runs Medicare. This program is partly funded by you paying into your taxes for Social Security and Medicare, also in part through premiums people pay through Medicare Pay, and by the federal budget. A Medicare set-aside, an MSA, is, think of it this way, as a hypothetical, it's a checking account that is used specifically and only to pay for future medical care that is related to your work comp case. We highly advise that it is administered by a third party that is trained and organized to keep up with those annual costs, because there are reporting requirements that if they're not followed, you could end up reimbursing and having to pay back for medical care that's not used properly. And there's many other reasons why we advocate for a third party to administer to those funds. When you have an MSA, there's going to be what we call seed money put into the account. And then each year through the annuity, typically, and each one of these are done a little bit differently, but typically on the anniversary date, X dollars, whatever's agreed upon, whatever has been analyzed and put together in the MSA report, that amount of money will be put into the account each year for future medical care needs. And the money goes forward each year until the total agreement has been paid off, whatever those specific terms may be. MSA account holders are required to report their expenditures on an annual basis to CMS. And if not done, then there are those repercussions I was alluding to. There are some other guidelines and some other things that need to be considered. However, the claimant, the injured worker, who's a Medicare beneficiary, and the total settlement amount is for greater than $25,000, or the claimant has a reasonable expectation of Medicare enrollment within 30 months of the settlement date and the anticipated total settlement amount for future medical care expenses and disability or lost wages, etc., over the life and duration of that settlement is expected to exceed $250,000. Those are the two instances that need to be considered whether an MSA should be entered into. What happens, and this is one of the big questions, when the MSA funds have been depleted or they're gone? Once all the account funds have been exhausted, a final audit is performed on the expenditures, and if the funds were used properly, then the injured person should receive Medicare benefits for medical expenses related to this claim. There's a lot more to it than just that. This is really the highlights. Again, if you have questions or concerns about how MSAs work, or if you have questions about yours, if it's working properly, just give us a call at 205-930-6900. Nomberglaw.com is our website. If you like this video, please consider subscribing to our channel. Give us a thumbs up and tell us why you liked the video. And if it was confusing or you didn't like it, please tell us that too. We also could be found on Facebook and Twitter.